will include aid around our refugee community and the upcoming city budget. I will turn it over to our Assistant City Manager, Milton Dohoney.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. I'm joined this afternoon by Parks Director Inger Erickson and also Library Director Rita Hamilton. And we are here to begin a discussion with you regarding the process of reopening. We have approached this based upon an assumption that reopening would occur over a period of time as opposed to this just within a single occurrence. When you look across the country at the way decisions are being made, typically communities have some basis upon which to make their decisions. And so we begin the presentation this afternoon by presenting you with a proposed set of metrics that might be used to trigger the reopening for the city of Phoenix. The set includes 14 consecutive days of decreasing positive cases of COVID, 14 consecutive days of maintained or reduced per capita percentage of positive tests, 14 consecutive days where the percentage of ICU beds was maintained or decreased, 14 consecutive days where hospital admissions for COVID-like symptoms was either flat or decreased, and 14 consecutive days of declining death occurrences. The proposed set of metrics that we are presenting this afternoon are based upon CDC guidelines. And if you take a look at the graphic depiction of what our last 13 days have looked like, even though you may not be able to see the numbers very clearly, the depiction of the bar graph shows that it's been an uneven set of 13 days. So this particular slide is the number of cases within Maricopa County through May 18th. We did make an attempt to try to get Phoenix-specific data, but it's very difficult to do that because in most instances the county is not defining it within the jurisdiction of individual cities, but it's coming out through the state and it's county specific. So the slide you're looking at is for Maricopa County. We also have information showing new COVID cases per 100,000 within Maricopa County. And again, like the previous slide, you've seen we've had an up and down set of days over the past 13 days. COVID-19 ICU bed use within Maricopa County through May 18th. It's not been flat, but it's been fairly consistent over the past 13 days. This slide shows COVID-19 hospital admissions through May 18th. And again, it's been sort of an up and down roller coaster. Some days, not as many patients. We had one day that seems to be an outlier. And then moving over to the right side of the slide. Deaths within Maricopa County through May 18th. And again, it has been up and down. Within the past 13 days, we've had only one day where there were no deaths reported, and that was on May 17th. And then this slide shows an overlay of City of Phoenix versus Maricopa County. It's one of the instances where we were able to put our hands on city-specific data. So the blue bars are Phoenix, and the shaded bars are Maricopa County. And again, per capita, it's showing that Phoenix stands out. And so what is in front of us going forward in the near term are some outward-facing services that will require council direction. Parks and Recreation in the area of libraries, as it regards special event permits, Human Services. Initially, we have some decision-making to do that is summer-specific.
Mayor and members of the council, as the summer programs traditionally approach, you know currently we're closed in the swimming pools as well as the recreation day camps for the general public. As we approach those dates, we really need some guidance on some decisions on what to do from this point. So, for example, for the swimming pools, we need a 30-day lead time to be able to open the pools. And because we were not able to provide training to the staff to prepare new people to come on, we really will only be able to open 16 of the 29 pools with limited capacity of 25% of what we were able to offer last year. The pools, if we're going to go on this path, we would really want to start no later than July 4th to have a meaningful season, as the pools then would close August the 2nd, and 10 of the pools would continue to stay open until September 7th for about 37 days of open swim for those particular pools and lessons. Recreation day camps, for example, we need about a 21-day lead time, and again, would have reduced capacity here to about 33%. And if we were going to have a meaningful day camp for the community, July 6th would be a date that we would target to be able to have 20 days of day camp for the community. Field reservations, we could do that pretty quickly. But however, we would need to limit the participation because of social distancing, as well as size numbers. You know, currently right now we're at a 10 person limit when people gather together. And so the field reservations we could do, but not with games and or scrimmages. It would be really more skills, those types of things.
In addition, there's also the area of special events. The current status is there is a moratorium on special event permitting through May 31st. On the screen are various departments that are involved in issuing permits depending upon what kind of an event a sponsor is trying to do. Streets, fire, planning and development, Parks and Rec, the film office, and the city clerk. So we would need to make a decision on what to do beyond May 31st so the departments know how to proceed. Additionally, there are some future decisions that will need to be made.
And Mayor and members of the council, for Parks and Recreation, current status listed there, restrooms, ramadas, picnic tables, and you can see the list of things that are currently closed. Those park amenities and programs, they don't have an end date, if you will. So there's no timeline to get a decision made on that because they continue on year-round. Those things are open all the time as opposed to the summertime. And so many of these items, once a decision to reopen is made, we could do them very quickly. Again, limited availability with physical distancing opportunities put in place. But there are some on the list, things like sports leagues, that would need to wait until the group size and the distancing factors were not as restrictive. Also, some of the areas of concern that we would have would be things like playgrounds, which are high touch and large gathering opportunities for the community. Those would create some even different concerns as far as sanitization, things of that nature. And so we also have a couple of areas that have limited access, which are pickleball courts and trailheads. And so those also could be made in a different time fashion as well.
In addition to Parks and Rec, we also have the library. Our current status is we are offering curbside pickup service between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., so 2 hours a day. Moving from the current status, the next stage would be what the library refers to as grab and go. In order to activate that, they would need 7 days' notice. In the grab and go part, individuals would be able to go into the library, check out some material, and then exit. they would not be able to roam freely through the library, simply to go in and, as the title indicates, grab and go. The difference between this and curbside is the curbside is only 2 hours a day. Grab and go would be the full range of hours that the library is typically open. And that can occur everywhere with the exception of the South Mountain Library, because South Mountain Community College is the partner with the library at that facility, and the community college at present remains closed. Additionally, with regards to reopening all of the facilities, the library would need a 21-day notice in order to make that happen, and even upon doing so, there would only be limited capacity within the library branches in order to maintain social distancing guidelines. And again, that would be with the exception of the South Mountain facility that remains closed. And then within the human services arena, the current status, all 15 senior centers are closed. In order to reopen the senior centers, we would need between 30 and 45 days notice in order to make that happen. And again, that would be with limited capacity. When you're talking about the senior centers, that is, of course, a vulnerable population. And so you would want to pay particular attention to spacing and also the types of activities that are provided within there. So that is a synopsis of some of the initial things that would need to be discussed and decided, and we wanted to come here today and present those to you. Inger, Rita, and I, and the rest of our team are now ready to entertain questions or discussion.
Thank you. Councilman Nowakowski.
Thank you, Mayor. So our baseball stadiums, basketball stadiums, and the, I forgot the new name for the Co-America Theater. I think it's something federal, right? When are they opening up again? Or do we have any idea?
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Nowakowski, I'm not aware of the date for that. It's something we can check on and get back to you.
Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, the arena, which is operated by the Phoenix Suns, is currently closed for renovation. They, I think, anticipate opening that in late September, which is when the current phase of renovations will be done. The Maryville Baseball Park, Inger, what is the status of Maryville Baseball Park?
Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, members of the council, Maryville Baseball remains closed until Major League Baseball makes any kind of decision there. And then we also, as you know, are the owners of Auction Pavilion, and they don't have any concerts until after the summer.
And then as it relates to Arizona Federal Credit Union Theater, that's not anything that we control in terms of opening and closing, so I'm not sure. We'll have to find out from them what the private operators of that intend to do with that theater.
I think we should probably use them as an example of maybe when we start to have special gatherings or large gatherings of events and for individuals in our parks, and also special event licenses in the city of Phoenix. The other thing is the swimming pools. I know that my kids love to go swimming in our public swimming pools, but as a father, I know that a lot of the individuals that we use as lifeguards, they're really high school students that are being trained prior of being lifeguards. Do we have those individuals lined up, or will we have to go out there and recruit those individuals for our swimming pools? Inger?
Mayor, members of the council, and Councilman Nowakowski, we have enough that have said that they intend to come back to be able to accommodate 16 pools. So currently, we believe that based on what the members that we had already trained and the people who'd come back from last year, we believe we have enough to do 16 pools. But again, it would be limited access, so there would be a real reduction in the amount of lessons as well as open swim, because the capacity of the pools would be limited. For example, if a pool last year had the capacity for 450, but you had to keep a 6-foot distance from people, this year it might only allow you to have 116 people at a time in the pool, and so we'd have to have reservation of times to be able to accommodate that.
Thank you.
Other council comments?
Mayor?
I think, yeah, was that Councilman DeCiccio?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, it shouldn't be a surprise for anyone, but I really think we need to start opening things up. I think people are done with this pain. I think that people want this over with. They want to go back to normalcy. And for us to do that, we're going to have to show some leadership and open up. The whole objective, and I want to make this so incredibly clear because no one's saying it, but the whole reason for closing things down was to allow the medical community to catch up and be prepared. They've done that. No one's saying that this virus is going to go away because it's not. People are still going to continue to get infected because they will. It is going to happen. It's a reality. We will have a vaccine possibly next year, possibly, and then you still have to vaccinate 70% of the public. If you think and believe in the herd immunity part, which I do, you still have to have 50% of the public have this type of herd immunity. So it's just not going to happen right away. But I think that the longer we wait, the longer we drag things out, the harder it's going to be. And at the end, I really do believe it's even going to be more harmful to all of us. It literally will be. We're kicking the can down the road for an emotional reason other than a logical reason. And I feel bad for all those that have passed on, feel bad for those that have had in a bad way, because it's real. This disease is real. It's not a phony disease, and it is a bad disease. But no different than the flu and others, they have not developed a vaccine that's been able to solve it completely. The flu, in a large part, is a coronavirus, a type of coronavirus. So from my perspective, I think we should be telling people that this disease is going to be here, but we also need to start opening up. We can do it in a responsible way. I'm all in favor of that. But we really need to start going at a little bit faster pace at this point and allow for this sense of normalcy. The opening of the libraries, that needs to happen. Our parks need to be open. Matter of fact, doctors have said it's good for people to be outdoors. They need to be able to use, the entire park. They need to be able to get there. So from my end, the sooner the better, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking about the human impact of this. We are moving towards 100,000 American lives lost, and we are well aware that it is our most vulnerable who are most impacted by this. From my perspective, likely our senior centers will need to be the facilities that open last, but that doesn't mean we can't keep investing in making sure our seniors have healthy food, which this council took very important steps to make sure that the important food that seniors get through our senior centers, we can reach them at home, and we need to continue to look for good programming and engagement. But we know that our seniors are very vulnerable. Arizona has been moving quite quickly. We are ahead of the CDC's phasing guidelines in areas such as bars. I think it's important that we do metric-driven decisions. In particular, I think looking at the number of COVID cases in our community makes sense. Maricopa County is probably the appropriate jurisdiction. We are seeing very different trends throughout Arizona. The Navajo Nation has had a huge challenge. Pima County is seeing a slower rate of spread than we are. So we do need to look closer to home at what is happening. From my perspective, I think capacity at our hospital beds remains an important metric. I would prefer not to use a metric around deaths. I think that's a lagging metric. I also think it is valuable to have about 2 weeks of data because decisions we make now will not show up in our metrics immediately. We even saw that in some of the data we've gotten from the county. They needed to adjust the number of deaths and sometimes reclassify deaths after testing has been done or more information found. So from my perspective, we really ought to lead by understanding public health data and working to protect our community. We've certainly taken important steps to support our businesses, including unanimous support of the small business aid. So thank you, Milton, for this very, very thoughtful presentation. I would love it if we can continue to invest in equipment that allows us to provide our city services more safely, whether that be remote services or even good old-fashioned plexiglass barriers that can help keep our employees and our customers safe. So thank you for your research and the great team that has been working to put this together. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I absolutely agree with you on the senior centers. I think it's very important that we not reopen those. I am hearing lots of complaints about the restrooms in the parks because I know a lot of families are still using them. But I leave that to Inger. I think she has traumatic experiences with customers using those facilities and had some really difficult situations. However, I really would like to see the swimming pools opened. I'm a firm believer you keep kids busy and they stay out of trouble. And you can't open it for, 4 to 6 weeks to get everybody hired. And I think if there is a huge dramatic change in the statistics, we should close them again, but I think swimming pools should perhaps be opened. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think there was good news from the state of Arizona, which is providing additional support for youth activities. And I hope that as we get grants from nonprofits, many of them will also be wanting to support our youngest residents. If I recall correctly, it was not a City of Phoenix Council decision to close those restroom facilities. It was the governor's decision, and I think that's something I'd support opening. Any additional council member comments? Hearing none, we will adjourn our policy session and, I'm sorry, Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, sorry. I want to thank staff and, is that, okay. Is that good? All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Garcia. We had a little bit of feedback, but I think we got it.
Okay, so I think in the sense of reopening, I think we should wait as long as possible. I don't think that it makes sense to open pools or other places that would put folks at risk. I think reopening before we're ready means accepting being complicit in preventable deaths, specifically complicit in the preventable deaths of Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 due to the longstanding and still continuing disparities in access to health care and so on. In District 8, we have the zip codes with the highest rate of infection, and I think it's because of those same disparities, and so I would appreciate us taking our time and making sure that we both look at the data that is coming out now that we're able to test more and that the city is able to invest in testing before we reopen. So I would be opposed to reopening both pools this summer, and I agree with you with senior centers waiting as long as possible before we open those up and using the resources that we otherwise would use to run the centers to make sure that we use those resources to make sure those folks are taken care of. When it comes to special events, again, I think we should wait as long as possible. I see the urgency in some of the small businesses and restaurants because that is their livelihood. I don't think that applies to are mostly recreational services that we provide. And so long as we can invest in public Wi-Fi or in other ways to get folks information, that is the only place I see us providing service, such as in libraries, that I would feel wary about reopening. But I think people's health care comes first. And so, just my opinion, I think we should remain closed as long as possible.
Mayor?
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, I also agree. I think that we've put in, as a city, we've put in a lot of work to get people to understand that they should not be going out to the parks, using the facilities, that we need to make sure. It took us a while to get people to understand that it was important to social distance. I don't think that we're close to being done with social distancing. I think for me as a mom, my biggest goal is hoping that I can get my son back to school in August. He's been out of school since March. So it'd be nice for him to be able to go back to school. And I think if keeping our facilities closed means that our children will be able to go back to school, I think that's a great investment. I'm not sure if I don't think that it's worth the risk looking at these numbers. I definitely think that money that we would put into hiring lifeguards or all the money that we would spend on precautions if we were to open things up, I think that money will be better spent in doing more testing. I think that's a better investment of that money, and trying to figure out how much faster we can get at that, how much more we can do. I know the city of Phoenix, everyone that has worked on that has done an amazing job getting testing done, but definitely agree that we should, we can contemplate a conversation about the bathrooms in the parks, but when it comes to programming our facilities, I think we need to be consistent, and I agree that we should continue to keep them closed. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Pastor.
I have some questions for staff. Inger, what would you anticipate, if you could open, what would you anticipate on opening?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, we could open things that were limited in pools, as I had mentioned, the day camps, also field reservations. You could look at restrooms, ramadas, those types of things. The trailheads, a few of the trailheads are currently limited in parking. Those could, because of the heat, might not be as big of an issue as they had previously when the season was really good, and we aren't seeing as many people come to the trails as we were back in March and April. And so there's a variety of things on the list that we could look at and evaluate the touch points. And again, picnic tables, ramadas, things like that are high touch points. And so the more people that touch it, we're not out there as soon as someone touches it, we're not out there cleaning it. So there would be those kinds of things that we'd want to take into consideration when making those decisions. But there's certainly some things like that we could evaluate and bring back information if that's what you wanted.
Well, I'm just curious because this is on the agenda, so I'm just curious of what staff was recommending and wanted. Because that's why a lot of times this ends up here, and we end up making that decision. So I just want to know what does staff want to open?
Mayor, members of the council, I think Councilwoman Pastor, you raised the right question here, which is what do we want to open? I think the first question of it is, on what basis do we want to open things? And so that's why Mr. Dohoney started with several different measures that you could use. So if you wanted to be purely data-driven and scientific about it, there are measures that we could illustrate to make that decision. When certain things happen, then we would go to that step. Absent that, then it really is sort of a collective type of feeling, decision as to when we should start. So I think that's sort of the fundamental part of it. Councilman Pastor, to your question is, do we want to use some concrete metrics that we can all look at? Or is there something else that the council would prefer to use?
So then what I'm hearing is staff is recommending or asking to use some metrics or concrete metrics to select what's going to happen in the future. Is that what I'm hearing?
Councilwoman Pastor, that's correct, and that's why we showed a couple examples which, depending on which metric or number of metrics you use, they would say that it is not yet time to reopen things, that we need several more days in a downward direction for that to happen. And I'll ask Mr. Mahoney if he wants to add to that.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, in addition to the comments that the city manager is making, one of the reasons that we're presenting things like pools this afternoon is because there is a time sensitivity to them. So if in fact we are going to have pools this summer, albeit lesser amount of pools, if we're going to have summer programs, then we're going to have to decide that pretty quickly, because when Inger factors in the lead time that she needs in order to get ready, if we wait another 2 and 3 weeks and say we want to have pools, then when you count up the number of days that's left in the swim season, the question becomes, is it worth it to do that for just 6, 7, 8 days of swimming? And so the things that are more time sensitive factored into what we actually presented this afternoon. For other things like trails and things, there's no time sensitivity involved, so it could happen whenever the majority of council directed us to do so.
Okay, Mayor, I have some more questions on that.
Please.
Okay, so we're almost into June, and looking at the metrics and the data, there's 14, the first measure would be 14 consecutive days of decreasing positive cases of COVID. If we look at that, that doesn't seem to be happening.
That's correct.
Okay, so then does that happen today? It hasn't decreased. So does the 14th day start from today? And then we go and we look at it on that date? How are you reading the data? How are you using the data to determine?
So Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Pastor, the purpose of showing you the bar graphs is to simply provide a glimpse of what the last 13 days have been. So council could look at that, and what it does illustrate is if we were going by the metric options that we have provided, the picture is saying that we're not there yet. But if there was going to be some other measure used to form the basis of our decision, then we could certainly act accordingly. If we went from today, 14 days into the future, and then looked at what the data is showing us, that might work for some things, but for the things that are time sensitive for summer, we would have essentially canceled summer because there wouldn't be enough time to make it happen.
Right. So how I'm calculating this and looking at this is if I go by today's date, May 19th, and I'm just going, I think it would be June 2nd. On June 2nd, if I read this right here, it says full 30 days, latest start date July 4th. June 2nd, we would then check that date and see what the data looks like. If the data says we still haven't peaked, if anything, then we start again for another 14 days, and then we look at June 16th. then June 16th, wherever the data is or how that will then determine if we really open the pools or not. Am I understanding how you're reading the data?
Yes.
Okay. And then in that, you would come back to us and say the data is, this is what the data is showing us, or you're just going to open?
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Pastor, we could do as directed. If you would want us to come back and show you, here's what the next set of 14 days looks like, we could do that. Or if you wanted us to track the data, certainly be transparent about what it shows. But if it met the metric that you all deemed appropriate, we would know that the light is green and we could proceed. But it's whichever way council would want us to perform.
And Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, I think you identified it well, is that 2 weeks from today would be a decision point where the council could look at the metrics that we've shown, and there's been input on those, and that could be a decision point. On June the 2nd, there would still be time for Inger to open the pools by July the 4th, and there would be time to, we're getting a lot of feedback from somebody's phone, I'm sorry. There would be time, by June 2nd, there would be time to make a decision to open the pools by July 4th, and there would be time for there to be a reasonable summer rec program for the month of July. So I think you identified that well, Councilwoman.
So in doing that, specifically for summer rec for kids, we are now seeing a peak in COVID-19 in kids. So where is that data to determine if we're going to be doing summer rec? Because that's increasing. I think the reason why we haven't seen increases in students or in kids is because they've been out of school since March. But you're seeing it now across the country of how COVID-19 is affecting that. So I would like to know what data you're going to use in determining and opening up these recreation centers or these recreation activities for students or kids, because now we're going to put kids at risk. And I think that's one of the concerns Councilwoman Guardado has. You know, should we stay closed and really get through this until August when we're ready, when it's really, we know that it's time to go back?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, you're correct. Out of the 5 proposed metrics we're presenting today, none of them are what you would call child-specific. We certainly could go and see what might be available in that area within Maricopa County. I don't recall seeing a child-specific metric for Maricopa, but that certainly doesn't mean it's not there. We can go and look for that if you'd like and bring that back as an additional piece of information for you to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know how you're going to determine to put a bunch of kids together and have a summer recreation, and then who's held liable at that point at risk. And then I have a question about the grab and go, because I think the grab and go puts people at risk. So I want to understand the grab and go versus just the curbside, or someone ordering a book and saying, having a window of picking up that book.
Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Pastor, Rita is here and she can address that issue for you.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Pastor, with grab and go, we are envisioning not only being able to pick up items that have been placed on hold, but we would arrange some book carts along the path, the socially distant path to the service desk, where people could pick up other items like DVDs or children's books and other popular materials, and also check those out.
So some of the staff have been communicating with me, and they're having issues with the grab and go. because they feel like it increases exposure. So I would consider that. I'm not sure how people will get protected in that sense, but that's some of the concerns that are out there about the grab and go. And so what I do know, and the numbers will be coming, what I do know is that in the testing that the city has been participating with, the highest peak of employees that are being tested for the antibody or being exposed to COVID-19 are our park rangers. So that's just an FYI to know that. And so I think with knowing that, we should be considerate and when we're trying to open up a space where there's a lot of public interaction and protecting our employees. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any additional council member comments? With that, we will adjourn the work study session. I will call to order our May 19th policy session of the Phoenix City Council, and as is our tradition, begin with a roll call of council members.
Councilman DeCiccio?
Here.
Councilmember Garcia?
Here.
Councilman Nowakowski?
Okay. Here.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor? Councilwoman Pastor?
Here.
Councilwoman Stark?
Here.
Councilman Waring?
Here.
Councilwoman Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Guardado?
Here.
And Mayor Gallego?
Here. Thank you so much. Today we are joined by Mario Barajas, who will provide translation services for our Spanish speakers. So thank you to Mario for your support of this council meeting. We have a new public participation system, so we are trying to get better and innovate in the era of COVID-19. A big thank you to staff for making sure that we continue to make these investments. Right now, we actually have some innovation that is, I would say, even better than we were doing before COVID-19. So now people are able to see comments in real time, and council members can also see ahead of time, as well as the general public, what the public is saying on agendized items. I am going to turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Tony Macarone, to give us more information on our new system.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Yes, we have continued to try to improve the public outreach efforts for our virtual council meetings every week. And last week we introduced when residents go to phoenix.gov and they click on City Council meeting, you'll see on your screen, residents can just click on Request to Speak or Comment Only, and they are brought to another page. If you can forward that, please, thank you. They are brought to another page where they can simply click, insert their name and their email address, and sign up to register comments on the item or to actually speak during the council meeting. And when they register for just a comment on an item, that information is available starting when our council packet is posted on the Thursday prior to the council meetings. Any resident can view it, the council members can view it. It's another way of getting public input related to our items on the council agendas. We're very excited to have launched that new feature last week. It was used last week and has increased this week as well. For today's meeting, there were 179 comments on the two items that we're going to hear on the policy agenda today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you to your team for working on this new system. Our first item will be for policy will be refugee assistance, and I will turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Jeff Barton, to tell us about our strategic plan and where we are in it.
Mayor, members of the council, good afternoon. I have with me Mario Paniagua, Deputy City Manager, and Neighborhood Services Director Spencer Self. They're going to talk to you specifically about a program under the umbrella of our COVID Relief Fund. What I wanted to do was just, again, reorient you to what we've been talking about for the past few weeks as it pertains specifically to the $293 million that we got from the federal government. And you adopted a few weeks back, you adopted a very conscientious and strategic plan that allocates these monies in a very smart and forward-thinking process. That process and that strategic plan was developed under 7 guiding principles. Number 1, we wanted to make sure, consistent with federal guidelines, that these dollars are being used to respond directly to COVID-19 impacts. We also wanted to make sure that the policies, process, and procedures that we set up relative to the utilization of these funds would comply with the federal audit that would come at the end of this grant period. We also wanted to make sure that we use these monies very smartly and that we focus on one-time allocations, not tying ourselves to something that has an ongoing or trailing cost, which would create additional budgetary issues in the future. We also wanted to make sure to try and streamline our processes and leverage existing process and leverage existing funds so that we could make these dollars go further and get out to market faster. We also wanted to ensure that we use these funds in a manner in which we preserve the services that our residents have come to depend on, and also the city employees that actually provide those services. We also wanted to use these funds to ensure that we reduce the economic burden that the COVID-19 pandemic has placed on our residents as well as on our businesses. And then finally, we wanted to ensure that we use these funds in a way that we identify opportunities to improve the way we operate going forward, post-COVID. We know the way we operate today is much different than we did 2 months ago. And we also know that coming out of this, a year from now, we're going to operate in a much different fashion. So we wanted to leverage these dollars to allow us to get set up for that in the future. Again, this is the holistic view of our $293 million plan. What we're going to focus on today comes under the $75 million allocation, specifically looking at the $10 million that we're allocating to mitigation and care for vulnerable populations. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mario.
Thank you, Jeff, and good afternoon, Mayor and members of the council. Staff, as you know, is working very diligently to implement the council-approved strategic plan for the use of the coronavirus relief funds. And one of the major elements of that plan is the mitigation and care of vulnerable populations. And in this sense, there's not only the COVID vulnerability, but there's also vulnerability to the economic impacts created by the COVID pandemic. Homelessness, hunger, loss of business for business owners, other financial impacts which can be very severe under this pandemic and the economic implications of that. Within the vulnerable populations, refugees and asylum seekers have been identified by the council as being among those populations that are the most vulnerable during the COVID-19 pandemic. This strategic plan identifies refugees and asylum seekers as an important part of the population to receive assistance for the offsets of the impacts of the pandemic. Many tens of thousands of refugees have resettled in the city of Phoenix over several years, with nearly 5,000 in the last 3 to 4 years. Refugees and asylum seekers are typically escaping violence and persecution. They are often victims of human trafficking. Because of these factors, along with language and cultural barriers, the refugees are often the poorest of the poor, and the economic impacts of COVID-19 exacerbate these conditions. There are several nonprofit agencies that provide assistance to refugees. In Phoenix, there are 4 agencies in particular that provide direct services as shown on this slide: the International Rescue Committee, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, and Arizona Immigrant and Refugee Services. Staff's proposal today for a plan, which will be described further by Spencer Self, would designate $3 million of the $10 million in vulnerable population and those funds that are specifically to go to refugees and asylum seekers that live or operate a business in Phoenix. The $3 million would be divided into 3 categories: utility and rent / mortgage assistance related to COVID-19, refugee relief grants, again, related to COVID-19 impacts, and micro enterprise assistance due to COVID-19. And it's important to reiterate that these funds are proposed to come out of the $10 million in Vulnerable Populations Fund, so it would not affect the amounts that the council has already set for the utility and rent and mortgage assistance and micro enterprise assistance. So Spencer will now cover each of these areas more specifically and in greater detail.
Thank you, Mario. Mayor and City Council, in many ways, the needs of the refugee community closely align with the needs we're seeing across the city. However, this community may be disproportionately impacted and experience barriers that prevent accessing the assistance you have already provided. Therefore, we are proposing dedicating $1.7 million to, including 20% in administrative costs, to fund utility and rent or mortgage assistance for approximately 700 households. As you can see, we are proposing the same program to outline previously in the presentation from Assistant City Manager Deanna Jonovich, Deputy City Manager Karen Peters, and Cynthia Zwick with Wildfire on May 5th. That includes up to 900 in utility assistance, 300 to go towards the city services bill, and 600 for electric and gas utilities, and up to 1,100 for rent or mortgage assistance. We know it's your desire to get the assistance out to the community as quickly as possible, and in order to do so, we are seeking to leverage the partnership with Wildfire to act as a primary contractor to oversee the program and to work with partner agencies such as those Mario noted, which in this case would be the agencies that work closely with refugees to provide the utility and housing payments directly to the providers owed. Next, we propose dedicating $1 million to provide grants for nonprofits to provide goods or services for the refugee population related to COVID-19. We are proposing using the same process we proposed for our CDBG COVID funds, which is a modified established process we typically use for our public service, public facility RFP, including using the Community Development Review Committee to allocate those grants. This will allow us to cast a wider net to provide for specialized needs within the community we may not even be aware of at this point. At up to $50,000 per grant, we expect to assist at least 20 nonprofit programs. Finally, recognizing that many refugee households rely on income generated through their own small businesses, we propose $300,000, including, again, 20% for administrative costs, to add to the $6 million you previously identified for microenterprises. At up to $5,000 per grant, we expect to assist at least 50 businesses. We're hoping to negotiate with the Arizona Community Foundation, who is overseeing the $6 million grant referred to earlier, who we would request to partner with agencies focused on serving refugees, such as those, again, that Mario mentioned earlier in the presentation, such as IRC, Catholic Charities, and Lutheran Social Services. These organizations would help provide outreach to connect refugees in need to this resource and successfully apply, eliminating language or cultural barriers that may prevent them from accessing other available assistance programs.
Mayor and members of the council, to recap, the staff proposed plan is for council approval of the $3 million from the Vulnerable Populations Fund to be set aside specifically for refugees and asylum seekers as outlined, with $1.7 million for utility and rent or mortgage assistance, $1 million for refugee relief grants, and $300,000 for microenterprise assistance specifically for refugees. And with that, we would be happy to take any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mario, Spencer, and Jeff for that presentation. Glad we're moving forward with refugee assistance. Our refugee community has helped build the city, whether it be powering our airport or even architects who've designed the city building. We also know our refugee community includes folks who have kept our troops safe in Iraq and others, and We want to thank them for all they have done and hope this will help in a difficult time. Many people in our community are already doing work to support our refugee community, particularly the Valleywise Health System has been doing a lot to get health information out to our refugee community, and I do want to recognize the many partners that are out there doing work, several of whom will be available to speak to council. So we're going to begin with council comments. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, staff and Mario, for putting this together. I'm really excited that we're able to do this. Some of the funds that we put out before, it was hard for refugee and asylee communities to access them. So I'm really excited that these are specifically for just refugee and asylum seekers. I want to just make sure that the grants that are through NSD are available to other organizations apart from the 4 that were mentioned, the 4 resettlement agencies, to make sure that a widespread of organizations and even smaller organizations are able to access this fund. I also know asylees, their status is pending, and so I want to make sure that asylees are able to access these funds. So just making sure that, I don't know if it's a staff question or Wildfire or who gets to address that, but I know asylees are different than refugees, and we want to make sure that they're able to access these funds.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Garcia. So yes, absolutely, the grants will be available to not just those agencies that we happen to reference today, but to any agency providing services directly for the refugee and asylum seeker population. And we will have a scoring criteria that, again, our Community Development Review Committee will use in order to try to connect those funds to meet the needs, the greatest needs of the community and have the greatest impact. Also, to your question about whether or not asylum seekers will also be able to access these funds and benefit, absolutely. As long as, again, lawful presence is satisfied, which for asylum seekers, as you know, they absolutely are, they would have access to those funds.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will go to Councilman Nowakowski, and just to let our staff know when we begin on the phone, we'll begin with Connie Phillips. So Connie, if you want to get ready. But Councilman Nowakowski, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just really want to thank all my colleagues. I know that a lot of us support this item. And I also want to thank you for all your efforts in bringing this forth. I know that back when we were on the council together as council members, I think that was back in 2014, you were the one that really spearheaded and pushed the whole refugee issue within the council and making sure that the city of Phoenix, that we get involved and that we stay in the front of it. So I just really want to thank you for your leadership back when you were a councilwoman, and now as a mayor, you continue to take care of those most needed individuals that are fleeing from countries that are being persecuted and suffering, and now they're coming to this great American dream that we have here in the United States. So thank you, and I believe that we also, I remember you getting an award, or is that true or not? I forgot.
Thank you. Certainly it was a reflection of all the work the city did, but I did, the state refugee program has been great partners. So, but I know it's something we all share, and we all have diverse heritages, and many of our families came here under less than ideal circumstances, but we are a welcoming community. So, but thank you. We'll go ahead and go to the phones. We'll go to Connie Phillips, followed by Nedra Sumic.
Good afternoon. Am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so very much. Mayor Gallego and the members of the council, I'm delighted to speak. My name is Connie Phillips, and I am the president and CEO of Lutheran Social Services of the Southwest, where we've been resettling and supporting refugees in the Phoenix area since 1975. And I'm here today to thank you and ask you to support this allocation toward helping refugees and asylum seekers at this critical time. When they first arrive, refugees primarily take low-wage jobs in the hotel, transportation, and restaurant industries, and they work hard. They're often the people who are cleaning, washing our dishes, staffing housekeeping, and stocking shelves, all while learning a new language and culture. And as the city began to shelter in place in March, 80% of the refugees that were resettled by LSS in the previous year lost their jobs or their hours of work. Many have many barriers, and they've not qualified to date for unemployment assistance. Our staff and volunteers have been conducting food and supply drives, packing and delivering boxes of needed items, and assisting refugee families to apply for benefits and rent forbearance. And they're extremely vulnerable, as you have stated. Because of the trauma and the hopelessness they experienced in refugee camps or running from a war zone, they already know what it's like to literally lose everything. And after finding a beginning and working hard, it's happening again through no fault of their own. So these funds will help them overcome and return to self-sufficiency, becoming productive members of our city, state, and their new country. And before I close, the only other thing I would like to ask is there be a continued conversation about supporting the Welcome Center, perhaps, because we believe that is a resource for refugees and asylum seekers who might find themselves homeless in the next few months. This center has been designed specifically for people new to our country, and it will offer a far greater support than the traditional providers of services for those that are homeless. So I ask that as we do this really great, wonderful thing, continue to have conversations, make sure that our funds are available. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you to you and all of the folks who are working to make this a more welcoming community. Nedra will be followed by Abang Bui.
Good afternoon. My name is Neda Sumik. I'm a former refugee from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and currently I'm a refugee community organizer and oversee the We Are All America Coalition in Arizona. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and the council members for your consideration for funding our refugee and asylee and vulnerable populations, particularly Council Member Carlos Garcia, Laura Pastor, and Vice Mayor Betty Guardado, who have been working with us diligently. I would like to ask your support for this budget proposal. I would also like to make a recommendation to the City Council in finding ways and improving communication on allocation and distribution of funds. Our resettlement agencies and ethnic community-based organizations have been working really hard at servicing this community and working in partnership and in collective effort. There is a due process in place with our clients, and we know our community very well. So in light of the funding, the city had reached out to us and asked about fund distribution allocation. After we had collectively made a decision together and the city accepted our proposal, we found out in the late hours of yesterday that this was not the case. So moving forward, we just asked the city to work with our community partners directly, that you consider long-term funding for these vulnerable populations and programs such as a Welcome Asylum Center. And we asked the city to make this process as easily accessible to refugee and asylum-seeking communities. Thank you in advance, and we look forward to continuing to build our relationship with the City Council and the Mayor's office.
Thank you. Abang will be followed by Bithoy. Abang?
Yes.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Abang Boy. I arrived in the United States in July 2019. I was living in a refugee camp for 13 years. When I was arrived here in the United States, my dream was to start any job, work hard, make money, start financial dependency. I was working in Marshalls when COVID-19 came to mess up my off. I was worried about my kids as a single mom. I was worried about bills. I was hopeless until I get a check from the state. At that time, I was talking with other refugees who were also hopeless. Fortunately, things were changed since the state started to get financial assistance from the state. I cannot find a better way to thank you for support. Please allow me to ask for the financial support to continue as a refugee. The support helping refugees to restore hope and joy. Others for Gumball's development. Thanks you for inviting me as a refugee to this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. B will be followed by Aaron Rippenkroger.
Hi there, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak in support. As the son and grandson of refugees, I'm personally knowledgeable about the benefits of supporting immigrant families. Our immigrant neighbors are important pillars of our community and are heavily overrepresented among essential workers. By supporting these families now, we can ensure that their American dream does not end and lay a path for future generations to join and strengthen our community. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Wonderful. Thank you for your testimony. Our final speaker on agenda item number 1 is Aaron. Aaron, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Mayor and the council members and the staff members for the city. My name is Aaron Rippenkroger. I'm the executive director for the International Rescue Committee in Arizona, where we serve refugees, asylees, asylum seekers, survivors of human trafficking, survivors of torture, and immigrants, numerous other groups. And I want to say thank you so much for your attention and for considering these resources to support these populations across Phoenix. You've heard already how these groups are among the hardest hit by the COVID-19 outbreak, working in hospitality, transportation, food service, all facing massive layoffs and loss of income, while also being core to the backbone of our community. Many of the mainstream relief programs that have been established have been extraordinarily difficult for our clients to access due to language, cultural, and other barriers. Therefore, these relief funds we're talking about today are absolutely critical, as well as the support, language appropriate and culturally informed casework and employment service for these populations that have been developed over many years of practice. The disproportionate risk for these populations are very real due to the work that they do, usage of public transportation, and other factors. The disproportionate impacts are also extraordinarily real, as demonstrated by the tripling and quadrupling of the caseloads we're seeing at our organization and our colleague agencies, as well as the complexity and the intensity of the needs. Current and former clients coming back to us in extraordinary numbers, unemployed, unable to pay their rent, facing health issues, low on basic supplies, food, and extremely confused about the situation. We believe that the distribution of these funds, as has been, would continue to be informed by the organizations doing this work, and we'll make sure that they're used to maximum effect. And really, as a major campaign to prevent potentially extraordinary rates of homelessness, which is a big part of the work that we do. And lastly on that, I would also like to echo some of the comments made earlier about the Phoenix Welcome Center, which has hosted over 2,000 people in Phoenix since opening last July, who would have otherwise been dropped off on the streets of Phoenix without that support. It hasn't been mentioned today, but can continue to play a very specialized and constructive role in helping the city of Phoenix address the issues of homelessness and provide a targeted source of relief for individuals in these specialized groups that are facing a housing insecurity and a very specific transition. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your testimony on this very important topic. I will turn it back to council members for comments or a motion.
Mayor?
Councilmember Garcia.
Yeah. I want a motion to pass staff recommendation of how the $3 million will be used.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry, before we begin voting, Councilwoman Williams.
I just want to be assured by staff that we're talking about people who have legal status.
Mayor and Councilwoman Williams, that's correct. This would be funds and assistance to those who have legal status.
Good. Thank you.
Any additional council member comments?
I do, Mayor.
Was that Councilwoman Pastor?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think this is I think all this funding needs to get into the refugee and asylum seekers' hands because it's very important. As we know that they arrive to our country and there is a minimum amount of time of or span where they get services, and then after that, believe it's after 90 days, and then they're on their own. And if anybody's the most vulnerable population at this moment, it is that population, just due to right now a lack of a job or jobs not rehiring, and just supporting families. So I think this is very important. I do want to say that I'm very proud of the work that we have done in District 4 and with the refugee community in building a pop-up and helping the Syrian community do a pop-up market in downtown for a whole month and putting their talents together and being able to expose the city regarding the talents that are in the refugees community. In addition to that, I have been working very closely with some of the communities and doing food distribution at food banks. So I think this is really wonderful in the fact that it's getting to our community. One question I have, and it's regarding administrative costs. The question is for staff. I'm hearing 20% for administration. Is the 20% going to wildfire? And then in the grant, is there going to be a 20% margin for administration for the other communities that are servicing the refugee and the asylum seekers?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, members of the council, it's my understanding, Cynthia Zwick is here with us in the audience, the 20% will be evenly spread amongst the agencies in which she goes under contract with, as well as her agency to administer the program. So those agencies administering the program out in the field will also receive administrative dollars.
Does that mean 40% is getting taken off of the amount? How much is going to administration, I guess, is what I'd like to know.
20% of the total program cost will be allocated to administration.
How much? No, I understand 20%. If I do 20% correctly, it's $340,000 that would go to wildfire. And then from there, what I'm hearing is in the grant, they have organizations have the ability then to take 20% within that organization, and then how does all that money going to trickle down to the community? I guess I'm trying to get to.
So Councilwoman Pastor, members of the council, Wildfire will execute a contract with each of the agencies for a set dollar amount. That set dollar amount they receive, they will be allowed to use 20% of that contracted amount for administration of the contract.
I have issues.
Thank you. And I certainly
Mayor?
think administration dollars are fair. We have a lot of federal paperwork. Federal dollars are not easy to spend, and there'll be probably more auditing and oversight of this than other pools of money. Many of these agencies also employ people from the refugee community, and so it will be assisting those individuals as well, and I think there'll be both interpretation and translation costs that are fair and will help the program run well so that the people participating can understand it. Councilman Nowakowski.
Going back to Councilmember Pastor's question. So 80% of the monies go to direct service, 20% goes to administration fees, up to 20%, right? And there's no double dipping on that, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia. I think I heard.
I just, and maybe Cynthia, you can answer this question. We're not losing 40% of the money that's going out there, right? Is your 20% going to include assistance for the organizations, or is Wildfire literally keeping 20% and then moving the rest?
She is coming to the table.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and Councilman Garcia. We will not be keeping the 20% ourselves. The intention is to divide the money among the organizations that will be contracted with. We will keep a portion of that, and it really just depends on what we need to do is help offset some staff expenses, which I don't think will come to 20% actually, and the rest of the money will be redistributed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Important question. Thank you, Cynthia, for partnering with us on so many key programs and making sure that we also manage them all together, which I think is great benefit to the city and the taxpayers. Any additional council member comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilman DeCiccio? Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilman Nowakowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pastor?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pastor?
Yes.
Councilwoman Stark?
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Waring?
No.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guardado?
Yes.
Mayor Gallego?
Yes.
And Mayor, that motion passes 7-1.
By a vote of 7-1, the Phoenix City Council has allocated $3 million to help the refugee community with COVID-19 related expenses. Thank you to our staff for that hard work and the council members as well for their work and support of this program. We will next move to our second agenda item, which is our budget, and I will turn it to our city manager, Ed Zerker, to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We're here today on the proposed budget. It represents a general fund budget and an entire city budget that is basically unchanged since your action on April the 13th. It is the same, it represents the same level of service as provided last year, with the exception of a couple additions the council added for about $1 million in April. This is an extraordinarily unusual time and an unusual budget, so I want to thank the council for your patience as we've worked our way through this. And I just would also say that normally the budget actions represent the end of the budget work. In this COVID time, I believe it will just represent the beginning. As we have discussed in the last couple months, we will need to continue to monitor the budget with the council on a weekly and monthly basis to adjust for whatever economic conditions we're able to ascertain in the coming months. But again, to reiterate, our general fund budget represents the same level of service as was adopted last year, with only 2 small changes. With that, I'll turn it over to Deputy City Manager Jeff Barton, who has a very brief presentation, and then we'll take council questions, and then this would represent the council's first formal vote on the budget that starts a process that culminates on July 1st. Jeff?
Thank you, Ed. Mayor, members of the council, as Ed mentioned, this is unlike any process that we've ever been through before. I've been with the city since '99 and been with the B&R department since 2001. And again, this is unlike any process I have ever gone through. It feels like we're getting one piece of a puzzle each day, and we're trying to piece this thing together. But again, I thank you for your patience, and I thank you for your understanding as we try to cobble together the most relevant information that we can get to muster our budget together. But again, as you know, we put this process together by looking at the budget almost in phases as we move through this COVID pandemic, as well as moving through the economy. So again, this budget that we're talking about today that we've proposed, it reflects a very deliberate process that is based on the most recent and most relevant information that we have available. It also provides and it tries to give us flexibility so that if the economy does better or worse, that the budget is positioned in a way for us to do that. And what I mean by that, if the economy starts to rebound faster, then we want to make sure that we've got budgetary appropriation to spend the resources that will be coming in. And that's why we did not want to overcut this early in the process. And likewise, we do have options available for us to kind of trim when we have to, when we get to that point. We also wanted to make sure that the budget allowed maximum flexibility from an appropriation standpoint as it relates to federal dollars. Again, if we cut the budget too low and we get additional federal dollars over and above what we already know about, we may not have legal appropriation or spending authority to spend those dollars. So we wanted to ensure that we had flexibility to do that as well. And as Ed mentioned, today's budget that we're presenting is the exact same that we've been talking about since April 13th. It represents the exact same level of services that we're providing today in this fiscal year and next year. It does not reduce staff at this point in time, as well as it does not reduce services. And we did add 2 new things to the budget, as the city manager referenced. Here's a very quick overview. Again, we are required by both state statute and city charter to balance our budget. And as you can see from this slide, on the general fund side, our resources and expenditures are equal to $1.425 billion, and we are balanced. Again, today is your first action, so we ask for your approval today. Following today, we come back on June 3rd with the formal legal process to begin, which is the adoption of the tentative budget, as well as we come back June 17th, so 14 days later for final adoption. And then we come back on July 1st for the property tax adoption. And again, I want to emphasize here that our property tax rate that is proposed in this budget is the exact same rate that we have in the current fiscal year, $2.13 per $100 of assessed valuation. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Councilmember questions?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Williams.
Can you hear me?
Was that Councilwoman?
No, I mean, I'm not thrilled about this budget, but I'm approval.
I'm having a problem with my speaker button, so let me see if I can help it somehow, but sorry.
So, I'm sorry. We will come back to Councilwoman Stark, I think. There we have a better connection, I think.
Don't be shy, Deborah. Go ahead and say it.
Mayor, I'm having a problem with my button. I don't know what's going on. So Matt, if you could send someone over. Thank you.
And perhaps we could try without video. Sometimes that has worked better for some council members. And Councilwoman Williams, did you completed your comment?
Yes, and I made the motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the budget and a second from Councilman Nowakowski. Any council comments before we go to the public testimony? Then we will go to public comment. And I should have announced at the last agenda item for refugees, we had 61 public comments, 1 opposed to the item, 14 that it was not clear from their testimony, so we'll mark them neutral, and 46 in support. On this item, we received 87 comments opposed, 23 neutral, and 8 supportive. We will begin with Steve Berline, followed by Maria Sanchez.
Mayor, we apparently don't have Steve Berline on the line at this point.
Wonderful. Then we will begin with Maria Sanchez, followed by Ben Laughlin.
Good afternoon, members of council and mayor. My name is Maria Sanchez. My son and I currently live in District 3. I've joined this meeting today because this budget does not reflect the needs of our community. We've been calling our community to do wellness check-ins since the beginning of this pandemic, and not one person has mentioned police as a solution or a need to get us through this moment. Police don't solve the problems that our communities are facing right now, and we need to make sure that we don't continue to fund this police department now or in the future. What we do need is for you to invest in departments that are actually going to help us recover from the impacts of COVID-19 for years to come. I oppose this budget with my family and my community until we include funding for civilian oversight. You voted yes on civilian oversight just 3 months ago, and community showed up in historic numbers. So we must make sure to honor them and to fund civilian oversight in this budget calendar. Also, city leaders, you need to create a private relief fund for undocumented communities affected by COVID-19. My mom pays taxes. She filled out her census to bring resources to our city. If you want to count our family, if you want to count undocumented people, you must include us as part of this community and all future relief packages. City leaders also have the responsibility for health and wellness of all residents, and we are essential members of this community and deserve equal relief. I understand there's current laws that make it difficult to support our families, but we are asking you to step up and create a private relief fund for undocumented people, just like mayors from other cities have. This is our money. This budget is going to directly impact our lives, and we do have the right to decide where it goes. So again, let's make sure that we fund civilian oversight and create a private relief fund for undocumented people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben will be next, followed by John Durr.
Hi, my name is Ben Laughlin. I live in District 4. I'm commenting today to show support for a privately resourced fund for undocumented people. It's not okay to count folks in the census, but cut them from the relief programs. The budget that's going to get passed today is laying the foundation for Phoenix recovery from COVID-19. People are losing their housing, their healthcare, and their income. Overinvesting in police cannot solve these problems. We need to protect people, not the police budget. We also need a multi-million-dollar investment in mental health resources that don't involve police. Recommendation number 9 in the National Police Foundation report was for the city to find non-police resources for mental health response. If we don't put millions of dollars into free mental health resources and non-police crisis response units, Black, brown, and poor people are going to die at the hands of the police all over the city in the coming years, even more than they already are. Lastly, I'm in favor of this online system for comments, but I spent hours, literally hours, helping people create accounts in the last few days. And in the last 24 hours, the system repeatedly crashed as folks were trying to submit comments, which left many people without a way to voice their opinion. I'm not a tech person. I don't know what the exact solution is on this, but it seems like the fifth largest city in the country should have a system that can handle us. I was thinking maybe we could take some of the $4 million budget maybe we could take some money from the $4 million police public image budget for that. It might be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. John will be followed by Debney Preuss. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mayor, members of the council. I'm a business owner adjacent to light rail. I just wanted to offer today my support of the transit and infrastructure items that are in the budget. On 4 separate occasions, Phoenix voters have approved local and regional dedicated funding sources to support a comprehensive multimodal transportation system that so many people rely on for increased mobility to get to school, to get to work, to get to grocery stores and healthcare facilities. Also, our airport and transit systems, while they're not busy today, they will be again and to continue to be essential services for all of our residents. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, John. Debney will be followed by Adriana Gonzalez. Debney, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and members of council. I serve as president and CEO of Downtown Phoenix, Inc., and as of this morning's board appointment, also interim executive director of Phoenix Community Alliance, or PCA. PCA is a business advocacy and membership affiliate of Downtown Phoenix, Inc., and represents more than 280 business, nonprofit, education, and community members working to create a stronger downtown for a better Phoenix. My following comments are on behalf of PCA. At the April 13th City Council policy session, the global economic impact of COVID-19 was presented, and the expected decline in local tax revenues from current levels was also discussed. Also on April 13th, City Council then thankfully approved $27 million worth of preliminary budget balancing actions, and also approved $1 million in new spending for fire, 911 dispatchers, and the Office of Accountability and Transparency. We feel the preliminary budget is responsible and balanced, which is an important accomplishment to note in our current environment. This budget preserves the same level of city services as the 2020 budget, and it includes federal funds that allow the city to address COVID-19 impacts. Funding within the preliminary budget that is of particular importance to PCA includes the allocation for multimodal transportation and infrastructure expansion, arts and culture, solutions for affordable housing and individuals experiencing homelessness, and K-12 education. While we may not all agree with everything that is in this year's proposed budget, knowing you'll have the option to amend the approved budget when you return to session in August, it is critical to pass this year's budget now. This will ensure the city continues to provide the services that are critical to downtown Phoenix's continued revitalization and the success of our growing city. We stand ready to work in collaboration with city leadership and staff as you continue to face challenging decisions in the coming months. Thank you for your time and your public service to our city.
Thank you for your testimony. I understand Adriana is not on the line right now, so we will go to Vineet next. Or could our staff, and then followed by Marcus Millam. Okay, we will go next to Marcus.
Yes, hello, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for hearing me today. My name is Marcus Millam. I live in Council District 1, and I am speaking today in opposition to this budget because it does not reflect the widespread views of the entire city. I am blessed to be able to count friends and family members who have been police officers. I have had the chance to go on ride-alongs with officers and to see the good work that they do. Anyone who knows these officers understands the challenges that they face. They know that to protect and serve is more than a motto. It's a standard of a life lived in service to others. Our officers conduct dedicated service day in and day out, and with all due respect to members of the council, they deserve to be treated as something more than partisan punching bags. The most important thing all of us can do is learn how dedicated these men and women are to serving our community each and every day. This is their home, and they put their lives at risk every day to serve their fellow citizens and the communities they live and work in. So when activist organizations start spewing misinformation and false allegations about our officers, aided and abetted in their campaign of deception by misguided public officials, I am personally offended by it. This council represents one of the largest and fastest growing cities in the nation. That is a great responsibility. We have people moving to Phoenix from all across the country, and they want to know whether the members of this body will keep their promises. Your actions today and through July will answer that question. Madam Mayor, members of the council, this council should answer that question by performing due diligence. That means real and genuine information gathering and fact-finding on issues related to public safety, rather than listening to a handful of protesters who are being dishonest in pursuit of a personal agenda. This council promised our people the chance to have input into this process. There has been no such input yet. I urge you all to keep the promise you made. Give the public input and do not utilize this partisan oversight committee until all of Phoenix has had their say. Hear from everyone.
Thank you.
To select few trafficking and misinformation.
Thank you. We will next go to Sharifa Rowe, followed by Brian Messinas.
Hi, I'm Sharifa Rowe. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you for allowing me to have this time. It's really difficult to hear people that are offended about us just wanting to have life and have safety. The police must be accountable to the people that they serve, and that includes Black, queer, Indigenous, people of color, as well as white folks. I don't think we want anyone to be harmed by the police, but the police must be accountable to the people that they serve. And right now, the way that Black, brown, queer people, undocumented people are being served by the police is not the same as white folks are being served by the police. And as much as it pains my heart to acknowledge that truth, that is the truth. And so it is the city's responsibility to provide a budget that is going to allow everyone to be healthy, and not have additional policing and not giving additional funds when they're not accountable to the people that they're already serving. In addition, I think around undocumented folks, we need to have something that is calling leaders to provide needs for undocumented folks in this COVID-19. I also see that there shouldn't be a budget for us without us. The money that the city gets is by the people. And yes, you should hear from more people, but you should also listen to the people that's telling you that they're not being served properly. And it hurts to hear other citizens taking our lives so nonchalantly as we're being killed out in the streets. And I say we as a person of color that is raising children of color that I'm afraid for every day. And I hope that
Thank you for your testimony. We will take Brian and then Steve Berline.
Hello, my name is Brian Messinas. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Brian Messinas. I'm one of the state co-directors for the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition, and I live in Phoenix City Council District number 2. I am here testifying in support of a budget for a healthy Phoenix, not more policing, and acknowledging that police can't solve the problems we're facing as we try to recover from the pandemic, and we must invest in programs and services that support healthy communities, including police accountability as well as in support of providing relief funds to undocumented people and calling on mayor and council to create a privately resourced relief fund for undocumented people affected by COVID-19. I'd also like to take the time to express my disappointment in the utter lack of proper environmental funding in the city's proposed budget, especially in consideration to the amount of the growing homeless population and decreasing amount of solutions or any attempt at such solutions to create resources and opportunities for our homeless population to thrive and be rehabilitated and re-enter our communities as well. There's really stunning lack of acknowledgement of the atrocities that are taking place in our city, especially, just even less than a mile away from City Hall at 9th Ave in Madison, where we see an encampment of homeless people that have been shoved into such a small space, which is a public health risk to them and to everyone else as well. And acknowledging that they're going to be disproportionately facing heat exposure when the summer comes, yet there's little to no environmental funding in this budget. And I think a great place to take that funding from would be from the police department as well, which is, in my opinion, going to be overfunded only to over-police Black and brown communities in Phoenix. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go next to Steve, followed by Jaden Frederick.
Hi, this is Steve Berlin. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I could hear you earlier, but you couldn't.
Yeah, I'm
hear me.
afraid it was user error.
Okay.
My
No
error.
doubt. My name is Steve Berline. I'm the president of the United States Firefighter Association, and we represent over 1,300 firefighters in the city of Phoenix. I'm calling on behalf of them in full support of item number 2 in this budget. These are really difficult and stressful times for already difficult and stressful profession. We need to get this budget passed now. It shows strong leadership in you all. It established stability for the firefighters in a time of stress and instability. We'll take anything we can get. It's a solid budget. Staff did an outstanding job. There's give and takes there. I'll speak on behalf of my members. The trial budget had another fire engine and another rescue or an ambulance, and we lost those in the trial budget. But we are going to, this budget will provide some much-needed dispatchers in an understaffed 911 system, which dispatches for 26 different fire departments in the valley. So with that, I'm acknowledging the sacrifices we're making. These are really tough times. They're going to be more difficult in the near future, and we're willing to make some sacrifices to get the job done one more time. So please support this budget as proposed, and on behalf of the firefighters, we're in full support of item number 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Jaden will be followed by Chimene Hawes.
Hello, Mayor. This is Jaden. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Thank you so much. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for providing the opportunity to participate remotely in today's meeting. As I mentioned, my name is Jaden, and my husband is a City of Phoenix police officer. The City Council recently approved a civilian oversight committee with no real public input or thought into how it would be structured. It is my understanding that this committee would be staffed by, in Council Member Garcia's words, the affected community. I interpret that as civilians who have probably dealt with police on some of the worst days of their lives and likely do not have the greatest view of police. I watch the news. I'm an active member of my community, and I've had my own experiences with police officers, and what I know is true is that Phoenix police officers are good, hardworking servants that truly care about the community, and they deserve the city's respect and trust. I understand that some members of the public and the City Council see the need to duplicate efforts by establishing a redundant oversight committee, but I ask, who will oversee them? Who will prevent them from pushing political agendas and seeking unjust actions just to spite police officers? Why do these people not become police officers and try to better the department from within if they are that passionate about these issues? Based on my exposure, it is apparent that the majority of citizens do not understand what goes into being a police officer and what they go through on a daily basis. The budget that is being allocated for the Oversight Committee can be put towards training, equipment, staffing, and bettering the review processes that are already in place. I hope that you will think twice before moving forward with the political projects that may ultimately cost officers their livelihood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Hawes will be followed by A.J. Marsden.
Hello, my name is Shemin Hawes. I am a resident of Phoenix and a third-generation native of Maricopa County. I'm here to remind you at Phoenix City Council that everyone that lives in our city of Phoenix has the right to live in a healthy and safe community and free from police violence. I myself have been a victim of police overreach, violence, aggression on numerous occasions, and I'm a white woman. I can't imagine what my colored and I apologize, what the marginalized communities in our city have to face. We have fully 1/3 of our city budget currently going to the police force, and that is absolutely obscene in this time. We need to fund programs and services that will help us recover from this pandemic and don't just give more money to the police, who are already grossly overfunded. We need to fund programs that make us healthy and safe, like housing for the homeless people that have an abhorrent and shameful tent city right between city council and the capital of the state. You need to provide housing for these people, jobs, access to food, and mental health resources that don't involve the police. 911 cannot be the solution to every problem this city is facing. In fact, it should be the solution for none of them. We should have resources available that don't involve the police whatsoever. We need to keep funding programs that keep the police accountable, especially the Traumatic Response Unit. And we need to fund the Citizens Review Board that took us years and years and years to get on approval from the city. Thank you, Mayor, for voting that.
Thank you. We will go to AJ. AJ will be followed by Andy Anderson.
Hello, Mayor and council members. I am AJ Marsden. I live at 11th Avenue and Camelback. I want to thank the city manager's office, the mayor, and council members for a balanced budget that funds our police officers to ensure public safety. Our officers are out there 24/7 answering 2.3 million calls a year. Just over the weekend, officers responded to a carjacking. Officers attended to the victim and found and arrested the car thief. Not even 24 hours later, officers responded to a shooting at a park. Officers located and apprehended the shooter. Those two crimes happened within a mile of my house, but there are violent and lower level crimes committed all over Phoenix every day. Thankfully, there are officers willing to do a job that most people are not qualified or able to do. I am thankful for our officers' dedication, from our police cadets all the way up the ranks to Chief Williams. Public safety is an important part of the community. Community involvement is another way to reduce crime. We're all in Phoenix together. And since I have a few more seconds, I also want to say thank you for funding parks, recreation centers, streets, public works, libraries, and NSD. They are all city departments that help to keep Phoenix residents healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy will be followed by Elizabeth Venable. Andy, the floor is yours. Okay, I am not hearing Andy, so we will go to Elizabeth Venable, followed by Sean Severud. Elizabeth.
Hello, it says they unmuted me, you unmuted me, so I'm not going to ask if you can hear me. Thank you.
for being here today. Things I support include the Community Police Review Board and police oversight, civilian mental health without a police component. As somebody who once almost had an officer take my very fragile kidney patient daddy, threatened to take him to 4th Avenue jail over him yelling or something, you know, when he was a little crazy. I would definitely recommend that. And also, I would just say engage critically and creatively with the ways that you are budgeting. There are many ways you could be supporting communities in times of COVID that I don't necessarily think would be fit into a traditional budget. And there would be many things that you could probably cut that would not necessarily fit into things you would usually cut, but you can cut creatively. So if I were to be you, I would look at the budget as an editor, as a creator, as a beneficiary of the community, and think about what could be most critical at these times of needs, and it's really basic needs. There will be more, if there's more economic disruptions, there will be more people experiencing homelessness. You need to have a plan for this, or people will not have any idea what to do. And I think you've got to have flexibility in your budget. I don't know how you do that when you say you have to balance it. It's your task, I suppose. But flexibility in how you are to respond to this crisis, because I think it's a year not for traditional budgets. I think it's a year for working with the people, maybe being more data-driven, and really getting out information from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, followed by Reina Martinez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. There's a very commonly used phrase that I'm sure you're all well aware of that says, "Don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value." So I want to make clear to this council that as our city leaders, we expect you to have the community in mind when it comes to the budget. You work for us, you don't work for plea. I want to make it very clear that any attempts to use this current crisis to backhandedly try to defang OAT, the Office of Accountability and Transparency, will be viewed as a hostile action towards this community, which has worked for years for police accountability. The police budget is massive and it is bloated. And if we continue to spend enormous amounts of taxpayer money on this one single department, we expect that an appropriate amount of funds be utilized to ensure that accountability is kept. That is not too much to ask for. This council approved OAT, and now we expect you to follow through on that promise and provide a sufficient amount to fund it. I'd also like to make sure that we keep in mind that if we are asking our undocumented community to show up for the census, we better find a way to make sure that they are equally represented, particularly when it comes to receiving funds and services in this incredibly difficult time. I don't want to hear excuses about federal or state restrictions. You're all intelligent leaders, and this is a very talented city staff. So with all due respect, we don't want to hear excuses. Figure it out. There are ways to make this happen, whether it's through the CARE Act funds or not. When we talk about supporting our most vulnerable populations, please make sure that our undocumented neighbors and community members are included. So I'll say it again, don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. So instead of supporting a massive police budget, we can take some of those funds and put them to things like homelessness and mental health and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Reina will be speaking in Spanish. So we have Reina y Próxima Estelle Varela.
Mayor, can the council and mayor hear the interpreter?
We can hear you, Mario.
Okay, thank you. The Miss Reina will be speaking now. puede proseguir, señora Reina.
Hi, my name is Reina Martinez. I am a queer brown woman, and I am an undocumented migrant mother. I am a preschool teacher with Southwest Women Development for the Head Start program. Because of the COVID-19,
Could you be louder? Más fuerte?
Mayor, can the council and can the mayor hear the resident? She is speaking in English.
Yes, we did hear a little bit of English, but at least for me, not very clearly. And some of the council members who are online are nodding that they are also struggling. So I guess we do not need Spanish translation, but
Not at this moment, Mayor. So that's what threw this interpreter off. So.
Reina, could we perhaps?
Mayor, we believe Reina is on the phone. Reina, could you speak, please? One moment. Okay. I'm sorry, Mayor, we're just checking to see. Mario, are you hearing Reina?
I can, I cannot hear Reina.
Okay.
Okay.
Perhaps
now
we should go to
the interpreter can hear
Estelle?
Reina
Wait,
now.
okay, Mario has Reina, Mayor.
The interpreter will just put the microphone up to the phone and. Okay, Reina.
Hi, my name is Reina, and I am a queer brown woman. I am an undocumented migrant mother, and I am also a preschool teacher that works for Southwest Human Development. Because of the COVID-19, I was laid off along with most of my other teachers. Because I am undocumented, I do not have access to any of the city's needs. I felt struggling to pay the rent and provide for my child. My mother, who is also undocumented, lost her part-time job, which was doing childcare. We are struggling both financially and emotionally. I am here today to demand that the City of Phoenix creates a relief fund for undocumented people affected by COVID-19, like myself. So far, the City Council has excluded us from the COVID-19 relief fund. Mayor Gallegos has been silent to thousands of undocumented people who are suffering at this time. Undocumented people of color are among the hardest affected on this crisis. The Navajo Nation has the third highest rates of new infection cases in the country. The City of Phoenix is affected supporting genocide of Afro-Natives and Mestizo people brought by the pandemic. You have sworn to stop. The City of Phoenix has failed their communities of color. Because you have failed, we have had to organize to provide life-saving resources for our people. For many years, I have been a member of Transqueer Pueblo, an LGBTQ plus migrant community of color. We have created a radical wellness fund to support undocumented people of color and migrants with rent and groceries. But also, we are training out people to stand out for their rights with their landlords and utility companies. To the City Council, I like and I am here today. Yes, we might sound needy, but even more than needy, we are powerful. The City of Phoenix is telling us, but we refuse to quit. We demand that the City of Phoenix create a relief fund for undocumented people affected by the COVID-19, like myself. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go next, Estelle Varela y Juana Ochoa. Próxima.
Okay.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Estela.
Good afternoon. My name is Estela.
Sí, soy del Distrito 5.
And I'm from District 5.
Queremos un presupuesto que dé servicios y beneficios a la comunidad.
We want a budget that would be serviceable to the community.
COVID-19 nos está afectando mucho y necesitamos de su liderazgo.
COVID-19 is affecting us a lot, and we need leadership.
También exigimos que la gente indocumentada sea incluida para fondos de alivio.
And we also require that undocumented people be included in this.
Igual como nos piden que paguemos taxes y nos hagamos contactos, nosotros les exigimos que ahora nos den apoyo también.
And your Mayor, the interpreter is going to ask for a petition because of the broken line. The interpreter didn't get a full understanding. Señora, ¿puede repetir de nuevo su última frase?
Sí. Igual como nos piden que paguemos taxes y nos hagamos contactos, nosotros les exigimos que ahora nos den apoyo también.
Just like we pay taxes, we require to be supported as well.
Y que por favor también piensen en un presupuesto para las escuelas Gesta y programas para jóvenes.
And we also ask for the budget to include Head Start and programs for schools as well.
Ya que ellos son el futuro de nuestro país.
Since they are the future of our country.
No más dinero a la policía.
No more money to the police.
Nos gustaría ver una ciudad saludable y solo una ciudad saludable que sí cumplen con las necesidades de la comunidad.
And we would like to have a healthy community, and the only way that's going to be accomplished is for helping out the community.
A todos los concejales, gracias por darnos la oportunidad de escuchar nuestros necesidades.
And to all of the members of the council, we thank you for listening to our needs. Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you. Juana y Noemi Garcia. Después de Juana.
Después de Juana va a seguir Noemí García.
¿Sí me escuchan?
Sí.
Sí.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juana.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Juana.
Estoy aquí esperando, ¿verdad?, mi turno para hablar.
I'm here waiting for my turn to talk.
Muchas gracias por escucharnos a todos los concejales.
Thank you to all members of council for listening to us.
Yo quisiera pedir a todos los concejales y con todo el respeto, principalmente a la concejal Kay Gallegos,
I'd like to ask all the members of the council, especially Mayor Kate Gallego,
que por favor tomen conciencia de que las familias indocumentadas
to please be aware that all of the undocumented families
están sufriendo las consecuencias de la pandemia del COVID-19 también.
are also suffering consequences from the COVID-19.
Porque hay muchas que han perdido su trabajo
There's many that have lost their jobs,
y sería un acto muy bueno que ustedes
and it'd be a very nice act
pusieran un fondo privado de ayuda para todas esas familias indocumentadas que tienen muchas necesidades.
It would be a very nice act of you if you were to establish a fund to help out the undocumented families that are in need.
Y que también piensen en que si pudieran perdonar los servicios básicos como agua, luz y luz y gas.
And that also that services, your basic services like water, electricity, and gas be forgiven.
Porque si no tenemos ahorita para pagar un mes,
Since if we don't have, for instance, if we don't have to pay 1 month right now,
mucho menos vamos a tener para pagar 4 meses seguidos.
much less are we going to have to pay for 4 continuous months.
También creo que la policía no necesita más dinero.
And I also think that the police does not need more money.
Y también creo que tienen que seguir con la supervisión civil que se había puesto la última junta que habíamos tenido.
And I think that the civil supervision needs to continue, such as what was talked about in the last meeting.
Porque creo que ellos les dan mucho dinero del presupuesto.
Because I do think that they are receiving a lot of money from the budget.
¿Por qué no mejor ese dinero sea invertido en la comunidad?
So why isn't that money being invested instead in the community?
Porque en la comunidad se necesitan mejores escuelas, mejores calles, gestas para los niños no hay suficientes y también muchos recursos para jóvenes.
Because the community needs services, this money for school, for the streets, for Head Start, for the kids, and just different programs, community programs for youngsters.
Entonces, por favor, si quiero decirles a todos los concejales, gracias por escuchar a la comunidad, pero también quisiera pedirles eso, que por favor pongan un fondo de ayuda para las familias indocumentadas, porque hay muchos que no tienen que llevar de comer a sus casas.
And I thank members of the council for listening to me, and I ask for one last thing, for you to fund the undocumented families that need food to take home to their families.
Muchas gracias por escucharme.
And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, gracias. Noemi, y después Marta Avendano.
Gracias. Ahora sigue Noemí y después Marta Avendano.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. My name is Noemi.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Noemí.
Okay, thank you. My name is Noemi. Good afternoon.
Solo quiero pedirle a los concejales que por favor se toquen el corazón y puedan ayudar a nuestra comunidad inmigrante.
And I just would like to ask members of the council, if please, if your heart can be touched, to help out the migrant communities.
Pues ahorita yo pienso que son los más vulnerables.
Right now, I think we are the most vulnerable.
Y también les estamos pidiendo que no le den más dinero a la policía.
And we are also asking for you not to give any more money to the police. Help out the community. We need it. We need more schools, more parks. So that's all I ask for, is for you to help out our community. Thank you very much.
Gracias, thank you.
Gracias.
Marta is not on the line, so Marta no está aquí. Berta, Rita, próxima.
Marta no está en la línea, así que Berta, Rita.
Sí, buenas
Yes, good afternoon.
Hola, mi nombre es Berta Rita.
Hello, my name is Berta Rita.
Hago un llamado a los concejales, especialmente a Michael Nahuacaski, el alcalde Kay Gallegos,
I make a call out to members of the council, especially Michael Nowakowski and Kate Gallego,
que apoyen con un fondo de alivio para gente indocumentada,
that you support funding for undocumented people,
porque son las personas más afectadas por COVID-19
because they are the people mostly affected by COVID-19,
y son las que más necesitan ahorita.
and we are the ones who most have the need right now.
Necesitamos presupuesto para tener un Phoenix saludable.
We need a budget so that we can have a healthy Phoenix,
No para más policía.
not for more police.
La policía no es seguridad en mi comunidad.
Police is no security in my community,
Menos en estos momentos que estamos viviendo por COVID-19.
much less in these times that we're going through with COVID-19.
También quiero decirles
I also want to mention
que no decidan por nosotros y nosotros.
for you not to decide for us.
La comunidad también tiene derecho en decidir
The community also has a right to decide
en qué se debería invertir nuestro dinero.
in where our money should be invested in.
Sí, ojalá las personas que en verdad creen en Dios y ven, si leen la Biblia y todo, que dice una palabra que le des de comer al hambriento, y si no lo entiendas así, es al más necesitado, y son los que ahorita necesitan.
And I hope that we can read the Bible. What God says is to feed the ones that are hungry, and by doing that, you'll be helping out the ones that are mostly in need.
Espero que en verdad escuchen nuestras voces y
I-
ayuden a la gente indocumentada, porque con mucho hace a esta ciudad.
And I hope that you listen and help out the undocumented population that lives in this city.
Y nunca recibimos nada,
We never receive anything,
y si ahora estamos peleando es porque realmente se necesita.
and if we are fighting right now, it's only because we really need it.
Muchas gracias por haber escuchado, por mi comentario.
Thank you very much for listening to my comment.
Hey, Mayor, may I respond to that?
Councilman Nowakowski.
Pues, señora, primeramente te quiero decir que vamos a seguir abogando para esas personas más necesitados, especialmente a nuestra gente que está en de negocios pequeños que están sufriendo, a las personas que son refugees de otros países, que apenas pasamos unos $3 millones, y gracias a todos mis colegas y también al alcalde, y vamos a seguir buscando modos para ayudar a nuestra gente en un modo legal, y podemos hacerlo unidos con la comunidad. Entonces voy a seguir haciéndolo, buscando modos para buscar viviendas, para buscar esos negocios que están fallando ahorita porque no hay negocio, para buscar fondos para esos negocios y seguir luchando para nuestra gente. Creo que es algo muy importante y creo que es un voz que debemos hacer juntos y creo que podemos hacerlo bien. I was basically saying that we're going to continue as a council to fight for everybody's needs. We just passed $3 million for refugees, individuals that are coming from other countries that are needing help and looking for asylum here. We're going to continue to look for aid to those individuals, small businesses that are out there that are struggling within our communities that really need, and we're going to continue to find that monies. We allocate about $15.7 million for small businesses that are suffering out there, and we're going to help out as many people as we can to advocate people's of need, especially the immigrants and the individuals that are in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. En español, Millie Arate.
Millie Arate.
Buenas tardes. ¿Me escuchan?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Sí, señora.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Millie Arate.
My name is Millie Arate.
Yo soy una chica transgénero que vive en este país en busca de refugio por mi vida.
I'm somebody that's here in my country, in this country, looking for refuge here in my life.
Debido a que en mi país hay mucha discriminación hacia la comunidad LGBT, especialmente hacia la comunidad transgénero.
And Mayor, the interpreter is going to ask again for a repetition because the sound, the quality of the sound on this end. Señora, ¿puede repetir su última frase? ¿Puede arrimarse un poco más al teléfono, por favor?
Sí, les decía que yo soy una chica que vive en este país en busca de refugio por mi vida, ya que en mi país hay mucha discriminación hacia la comunidad LGBT y especialmente hacia la comunidad transgénero.
I am somebody here in this country that's well respected, and because in my own country I went through a lot of discrimination for being transgender.
Desde hace 3 años yo formo parte de la membresía de Transcurrir Pueblo.
Desde hace 3 años, señora.
Formo parte de la membresía. Sí, desde hace 3 años yo formo parte de la membresía de Transcurrir Pueblo.
I've been part of the Trans Group Pueblo for 3 years already.
Esta es una organización para la comunidad LGBT, migrante de color en Phoenix.
And I form part of the LGBT community here in Phoenix.
Los migrantes indocumentados LGBT se encuentran entre los trabajadores peor pagados, más vulnerables al contagio y con menos acceso a la atención médica.
The LGBT undocumented community is the most vulnerable, the less paid, and more propense to be get the COVID-19.
Las personas indocumentadas somos miembros esenciales de la comunidad.
We are essential members of the community,
Apoyo durante este tiempo.
and we need relief and support in these difficult times.
Las personas indocumentadas trabajan bajo las fábricas, en los restaurantes, y limpiando hospitales y haciendo sexo servicio también, que es parte clave del funcionamiento de esta ciudad.
The undocumented community work at factories, restaurants, hotels, the textile industry, and they're an important part of this community.
Yo personalmente trabajaba en una fábrica, Marshall, y esta fábrica fue cerrada, por la cual, por el motivo de COVID-19.
I used to work at a factory called Marshall, which ended up getting closed because of the COVID-19.
Por dicha razón me quedé sin trabajo.
And for that reason, I was left without a job.
No tenía cómo pagar mi renta ni cómo comprar comida.
I had no means to pay my rent with or to buy food.
El Consejo Municipal de Phoenix decidió excluir a las personas indocumentadas como yo de los fondos de alivio local.
The Phoenix City Council decided to exclude people like me, members of this community, local community.
La alcaldesa Gallegos ha guardado silencio sobre la necesidad urgente de ayudar a personas indocumentadas.
Mayor Gallego had ignored the urgent need that the undocumented community has displayed.
En esta pandemia se muestra muy claramente que para la ciudad de Phoenix,
With this COVID-19 has showed to the city of Phoenix.
Mientras los que están muriendo seamos personas indígenas, negras o mestizas, indocumentadas y sexo servidoras, no hay ningún problema.
While there's it's showing no goodwill towards the poor, the black, the transgender.
Gracias, thank you.
Gracias, señora.
Andy, we are going to try Andy Anderson again. And Andy will be followed by Kyle Klein.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. Thank you, Mayor Gallego and member of the council for listening to me. My name is Andy Anderson. I had the privilege of serving this community for 37 years as a police officer in Phoenix, retired as the assistant police chief. One of my numerous assignments was chief of professional standards. So I am very familiar with the process of investigating police officers and holding officers accountable and the challenges that that presents. I'm calling today to talk about the Office of Accountability and Transparency. I don't just call for myself. I'm calling on behalf of major city chiefs who are tied to Phoenix, three of which are Ben Click. Ben was retired executive assistant chief with Phoenix and retired as the police chief in Dallas, Texas. Ruben Ortega was the police chief in Phoenix and retired as the police chief in Salt Lake City. And Harold Hurt was the police chief in Phoenix and retired as the police chief in Houston, Texas. And all of us would like the council to reconsider their position on this oversight committee and rethink what the purpose of it is. Obviously, there's been very little talk about what citizen involvement is already in place for the police department. Over 40 years now, we've had citizens sitting on the use of force board and on the disciplinary review board with full voting power, the same as any sworn individual. We have the county attorney's office to review the actions of police officers. We have the FBI that can do independent investigations at any time. You have the AZ Post, the Arizona Police Officers and Standards, that commissions police officers and licenses them, that review their actions. There's so many things in place right now to hold officers accountable in a very, very challenging job. One that understandably most citizens don't understand. I would ask that you back away from this for the time being and readdress what it is the council is trying to fix in this respect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kyle Klein will be next, followed by...
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, and Kyle, you will be followed by Austin Road. Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. Sorry, I think my connection cut. My name is Kyle Klein. I'm a Phoenix resident and a city co-director of the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition. I'm also a 2018 Flynn Scholar and 2020 Udall Scholar at the University of Arizona. I know COVID-19 has upended plans for Phoenix's budget. However, this proposal does not meet the immediate and long-term needs of Phoenix's citizens. In the short term, Phoenicians of all races, backgrounds, identities, and legal status deserve immediate relief funding. However, due to the ineffective and unsustained response from the federal government, many Phoenicians currently out of work will find their own businesses or places of employment permanently shuttered when we beat this virus. Additionally, those impacted by this pandemic are at an elevated risk to COVID-19. For example, a recent Harvard study found that individuals in areas with high air pollution are much more likely to die from contracting COVID-19. Phoenix has been a non-attainment area for air quality standards for years, and Black, Brown, Indigenous communities are disproportionately affected due to geographic development patterns, not to mention issues of heat exposure and access to consistent energy and clean water. The two issues are directly linked, and to continue to bolster police funding only harms the community in desperate need of aid and new infrastructure. COVID-19 will not be the last global hurdle we are forced to surmount. If in rebuilding we fail to develop our city sustainably to meet the needs of our people and the planet, we will face even greater public health and economic consequences from climate change and environmental inequities. As such, I ask you to please reallocate new funds from a largely overreaching police force. Rather, not because of any individual officer's character, but rather increased police contact as backed by U of A research results in more unnecessary aggravated situations. Rather, please spend those funds creating new sustainable opportunities to serve our people and equitably rebuild our city economically and environmentally. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Austin will be followed by Catherine Resendez. Austin, the floor is yours.
Council members, can you hear me?
We can.
Good afternoon. My name is Austin Rowe, and I live in Council District 1. As someone with family members and friends who have spent their entire lives in law enforcement, I know firsthand the sacrifices made daily by the men and women who work for the Phoenix Police Department. There is a lot of misinformation out there, and it is unfortunate because this council is making decisions based on that misinformation. Decisions about law enforcement and public safety should be made based on facts, not inaccurate and untrue political innuendos. As our city faces looming budget cuts, it is important that key public safety services remain unharmed. The Phoenix Police Department is already short-staffed and retirements are looming. Those retirements are not being replaced by new recruits, which will make the situation even worse. This council promised this commission would not be created without substantial public input, and the public has not been given a chance to be heard on this matter. I urge the council to not fund the new partisan, yet to be created civilian oversight committee and put those dollars to better use, keeping our communities and officers who serve those communities safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Catherine will be followed by Marissa Hamilton.
Hi, my name is Catherine Resendez. I oppose this budget. I live in District 4. I am a mother, a woman of color, and have a deep sense of pride in my city. For many, many years, I worked side by side with many of you and with the Phoenix police officers and detectives, providing direct services to victims of human trafficking. There is no model in which a successful police force is not working in tandem with a highly resourced and well-funded system of social services and community care. Housing, food, health, and especially behavioral health must be prioritized over policing for any of those systems, including policing, to be successful. Earlier today, we heard from a firefighter nearly begging this budget to be passed so that his underfunded department can access the resources they need. This is ludicrous. The fact is that this budget may further feed the tension between our city's fire and law enforcement workers by overfunding police. Instead, we need a relief fund for undocumented community members. We need to support civilian oversight of our police force. We need to understand that today is not a chance to sidestep the Office of Accountability and Transparency, which you so beautifully moved toward. But today is a chance to prove that Phoenix is a city that takes care of our community members. All of us have a responsibility to all of us, no exceptions. Passing approval of this budget would be a strong statement that Phoenix values punishment and urgency over community care and long-term vision. While the numbers may zero out, this budget represents no balance and represents no pride in Phoenix. You have the opportunity to do something amazing and to truly take care of your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa will be followed by Vidi Hernandez.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Marissa Hamilton. I chair the Arizona Legislature's Criminal Justice Reform Subcommittee on Police Deflection. Police deflection is an important program to prevent the situations that lead to use of force, which Phoenix doesn't currently utilize, but other Arizona cities do with great success. I am also a survivor of sexual assault and domestic violence. It was a female police officer that was the motivation behind me getting out and getting to safety. As a strong advocate of criminal justice reform, while I am a proponent of the concept of citizen oversight, the proposal that was approved by the City Council leaves many unanswered questions and creates several points of concern related to the funding of $400,000 at a price tag of around $1,000 per complaint, quite excessive. The proposal as it exists will create a process that is prone to weaponization of false accusations. There is no threshold for a citizen complaint. There is no consequence for false accusations. There is no due process. There is no voice for victims of violence that police defended. For example, what is to prevent a rapist or a domestic abuser from submitting a false complaint on an officer? If this committee becomes weaponized against the police, why should the police defend victims of violence if this committee is set up with a perceived bias against them simply for their existence? With such large gaps, this committee likely will not bring us to the ultimate goal of better policing and a safer community. Further, with the stipulations this council has made for COVID-19, it's quite contrary to send our police on missions that would be perceived as harassment by citizens, and then create a punitive committee designed to criticize the expected outcomes and consequences this council sets for our police. Funding a concept that hasn't been fully fleshed out is an irresponsible use of tax dollars. This item in the budget should be tabled for a separate comprehensive presentation and discussion. Implementing a bias process easily abused without any positive outcomes for criminal justice reform will further frustrate the communities that have been hurt by bad actors within our blue ranks. Thank you.
Thank you. Vidi will be followed by B. Soy.
Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Vidi Hernandez. First, I would just want to start with Councilmember Williams. If you're so bothered by undocumented people getting, or the idea of undocumented people getting services, and I hope that you're going to also then lead the effort to make sure that undocumented people don't pay the taxes that you're benefiting and profiting from. Undocumented people live in your district. Undocumented people live in the city. Undocumented people are the backbone of the city. Right? We're asking people to get counted. We're asking people to pay taxes. We're asking people to get involved. You have a responsibility to us, too, as a council member of the fifth largest city of the United States. And with that, I just want to echo that we need our city council to step up for our communities, all of our communities. Passing the item 1 is very necessary, and we're 100% agree with it. And in the same vein, also want to echo our support for funds for undocumented people to be able to get support during this COVID crisis. And one way to do that is to continue to fund a budget that centers health and wellness, not more policing. If we already had a system that worked with police, we wouldn't have had the case like Erica Reynolds that was sexually assaulted by this police department. And then their own investigation said that everything was fine and no one was guilty. Into a community, and so she had to fight and sue the city. So the system is not working. We need civilian oversight. We need police accountability. And we need to fund a city that is going to honor the dignity and health of our people. We need to fund parks and Head Start and streets. And we want to do this together. And it has to happen by responding to this crisis. How we respond to COVID is going to impact us for generations to come. And that means that we need to fund and find support for our undocumented community. So with that, I would like to ask the council, what will you do different? Council Member Nowakowski, you're my council member. I didn't hear anything in your remarks about what you're doing. And so I would love to hear from you directly what you will do for undocumented community. Thank you.
Thank you. B will be followed by Michael Moynihan.
Mayor, Council, thank you again for the opportunity to speak. My name is B. Toy, and I'm a resident of District 7. I want to say it's vital to protect and expand funding for Phoenix's OAT, especially during this unprecedented time. As a Phoenician who has worked in the community for years to provide access to the life-saving opioid overdose reversal drug naloxone, also known as Narcan, I'm acutely aware of the role that first responders often play in helping to bring public health access and education to our community during a health crisis. However, I also know from experience how distrust and miscommunication between the police and public can make that work so much more difficult for all parties involved. We must protect and expand the OAT to further public health by enabling more trust and understanding between police and community. During this time of pandemic, it is more important than ever to ensure our police forces are accountable to our community. I'd also like to encourage the mayor and council to provide leadership on the relief fund for undocumented people during this time, as well as to address the ongoing crisis in homelessness to ensure that all residents of Phoenix are able to weather this crisis without excessive negative health outcomes. Thank you again for your time, and I hope to see you all providing leadership on these important issues.
Thank you. Michael, the floor is yours. Moynihan. Michael, I cannot hear Michael.
Mayor, we cannot hear Michael either, and that concludes the speakers.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you to all of our staff, especially Mario, for your help. Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope my sound is working now. Just
Beautiful.
for a point of, oh, good. Just as a point of clarification, Jeff, some of the police department is funded by voter-approved ballots, right? I think we had 3 over the past maybe 15, 20 years. They also fund, I believe, fire as well, correct?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Stark, you are correct. They've got 3 dedicated sales tax funds that support them. Proposition 301, which is also known as Neighborhood Protection, Public Safety Enhancement, and Public Safety Expansion.
So some of that money is actually dedicated because the voters said it should be dedicated to public safety.
That is correct.
Thank you. So this budget I am going to support, but I will tell you, as we move forward, if it does get worse, I would still like to reevaluate starting the Office of Accountability and Transparency. I recognize it was a majority vote, and I respect that. But more critical is that we maintain our level of services that we have now and that our staff is also secure in their positions. So I think this budget does that, but I do recognize perhaps in the future it might get even more critical. The good news is we do have some care money that we can look at ways to help our community, and I think we're still doing that, correct, Jeff?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Stark, you are correct. In fact, there was a GFOA call today, and I believe that the feds, the Treasury, is actually going to be tinkering with their guidance and their FAQs as it relates to the relief fund, even by the end of this week, possibly. So we're constantly watching that, and that is why you and the rest of your council members within the strategic plan for the relief fund set aside $143 million so that we could use that money in the future if those guidelines change.
Correct. And we're still looking at different populations. For example, I don't think we've really addressed a lot of the issues of our elderly. And we've had a lot of deaths in nursing homes and in assisted living facilities, and I think we need to discuss that in the future as well. But that's separate from this budget. This budget will move us forward in delivering the service, the basic services that the City of Phoenix needs to do with its employees, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you. So I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, I just want to thank everyone for their comments today. I think it makes it a lot easier when we know how community feels about our budget moving forward. I think it was incredibly important to be able to hear from all different aspects and all different people on the budget itself. I also, Frank Piccioli from ASME could not get on cue, but he wanted to make sure that I delivered the message, and to thank all the council members for putting in 8 more 911 operators into the budget for this new fiscal year. So he just wanted to make sure that I delivered that message as well. I'm going to say this next piece in Spanish. Quería dar las gracias a todas las personas que vinieron y dieron su opinión. Yo pienso que es importante que toda la gente se involucre y sea parte del proceso y que puedan dar sus opiniones públicamente. Yo sé que no es algo fácil que hacer, pero es algo que es importante. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I think just want to echo the thank you y gracias a todos. I know it's hard to stay on and do the public comment, but I'm glad folks were able to stay on and it worked out. And thank you for the translator. I hopefully we could keep working on that system and get it going. There was a lot of mention of the Office of Accountability and Transparency, and I just want to remind folks that we've cut the budget from approximately, $3 to $4 million to $400,000, and so I feel we heard today there's an urgency, and I don't see how in the big bucket that is our budget, people can equate those $400,000 to actually saving jobs. I think we're going to have to work together to make sure we actually do a lot more to do that, and I really hope we can continue to move forward the Office of Accountability and Transparency. So thank you all.
Thank you.
You're going with the budget, right?
So we began this budget process with a surplus as the fastest growing city in America.
A secondary motion to add anything?
It was great to have a surplus budget with
about the
significant
employees.
new expenditures, which we appreciated, and the community very much contributed to our original budget. Thank you to Jeff, who has now produced multiple different budgets, and with his whole team in budget and resource while being promoted. Congratulations. It's been a tough time. I'm thankful for the community for participating and innovating with us in new technology. It's very unprecedented to have a budget process that begins with a surplus, and then from my perspective, it felt like we just fell off a cliff so quickly with changes and huge impacts. I was not on the council in 2008, but that, at least as a resident, felt more gradual, but this was so sudden. It's certainly important to fight COVID-19, and I know that the sacrifices people made have saved lives, but it doesn't mean that people are not suffering. We'll continue to work with our COVID aid to try to do our best that we can to help our entire community. Thank you to Councilwoman Stark for the great suggestion and making sure we're addressing those areas. We want to make sure, to the extent of the law, that we work with our entire community. Certainly, Councilman Nowakowski has been working on these issues since long before I was elected, and helped me, in fact, change city policy so that we could hire DACA recipients at the City of Phoenix, and really want to thank him for what he's doing with not just the City Council, but the radio station as well, raising awareness of resources, whether it be immigration assistance or our small businesses. I think our entire council is passionate about helping the community and knows that there is a lot of suffering, people who've put it all on the line and took huge risks, and through no fault of their own because of the efforts against the virus, see a totally different reality. So we create and vote on this budget at a very difficult time, and we also know we don't have full information about the impacts on the economy and our revenue, what is possible. So we'll continue to look at the best data and try to adapt and respond as we understand what are the resources we have available. We know that our city services are more vital now than ever, and that people depend on the important work we are doing, whether it be to keep their kids safe, or a paramedic when you call 911, or any clean water. We do such important work at the City of Phoenix, and I hope that our city employees see this budget vote as a vote of support of what they are doing in difficult times. So I look forward to supporting the budget and knowing that this process will continue.
Mayor?
Councilmember Garcia.
Our office is getting calls, and we're getting messages that there's folks who thought they were still lined up to speak, and so just to be clear, if we cleared out just to let folks know what's happened, or if there's any other speakers on the line.
I would turn to Tony and our IT team for
Mayor and council members, we checked the names that we had on our speaker list multiple times, and the people who were on the speaker list and on the line were called to speak.
Thank you. And so just can you remind the public of the process and what time they have to call just to make sure that all that is clear?
Yes, Councilmember Garcia and Mayor and council members, the public should call to be on the line at 2:30. That's when the council meeting starts. But we check the line multiple times. We have a list of the speakers who have signed up to speak, and throughout the meeting, we continually are checking to see if those who haven't been called yet have joined the meeting after the meeting started. So we do that multiple times during the meeting, and we double check before we let you know that everyone has been heard.
And just for clarity, folks would have to have registered at least an hour before the meeting started and then had to have called in at 2:30 or during the meeting, right?
Correct. That is correct, Councilmember. And if they register online, they go onto the WebEx link, and if they register via the phone, they call the phone number. And that's in English and Spanish.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional council member comments? Roll call.
Councilman DeCiccio? Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilman Nowakowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pastor?
Yes.
Councilwoman Stark?
Yes.
Councilman Waring? Councilman Waring?
Oh.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guardado?
Yes.
Mayor Gallego?
Yes.
If my math is correct, Mayor, it was a 7-0. I didn't hear from Councilmember DeCiccio or Councilmember Waring. Thank you, Councilman Waring. That was a no?
I believe that was a Councilman Waring votes no.
So, Mayor, that vote was 7-1.
By a vote to 7-1, the City of Phoenix passes our budget. That is our final agenda item for today. This meeting is adjourned.